Yo, what's up, gamers? So, I walked into the break room this morning because I need coffee. Not want, need. The kind of coffee where if I don't get it, I start seeing Windows XP error messages in real life. But when I get to the coffee machine, Olivia from accounting is standing in front of it like she's guarding a crime scene. There's a caution tape on the counter, a fake HR memo taped to the wall, and a sticky note on the machine that says, "Do not unlock hidden menu." So naturally, I press the button because I'm a professional. And suddenly the secret menu pops up, unauthorized hot coffee detected. And I'm standing there like, why does this coffee machine have deleted content? And that's how I remembered one of the biggest scandals in gaming history, because there was a hidden minigame that got GTA San Andreas re-rated. It was pulled from shelves, dragged into lawsuits, and turned into national news. So now I welcome you back to the Janitor Files, the series where we mop up gaming's biggest messes, legal disasters, and the stories the industry doesn't clean up. So do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. If adult content is hidden in the files but not normally playable, should it still affect the game's rating? Because this wasn't just a weird mod, this was the moment a hidden file turned one of the biggest games in the world into a legal fire alarm. So let's grab a mop because this coffee burned the entire industry and we gotta clean it up. Before we get to the hidden menus, rating boards, and politicians yelling about digital coffee, we gotta talk about why this exploded in the first place. Because Rockstar was already being watched. Rockstar Games was founded in 1998 under Take-Two, and by early 2000s they had built a very specific reputation. This was not the studio making cozy little farm games where everybody learns friendship and grows turnips. This was Rockstar. We have crime, satire, violence, adult humor, radio stations making fun of everybody. Sam Hauser and Dan Hauser helped shape that voice. That sharp, sarcastic, let's parody America until somebody throws a chair style. And Grand Theft Auto had already been causing problems before San Andreas ever showed up. The original GTA started back in 1997 as a top-down crime sandbox. It was chaotic, messy, and already designed around stealing cars and making bad choices faster than HR can update the handbook. But then GTA 3 hit in 2001 and everything changed. Suddenly that chaos was in full 3D. A living city, police chases, crime missions, open world freedom. It turned GTA from a weird crime game into a cultural monster. Then Vice City came along and proved it wasn't a fluke. Rockstar had a formula people could not stop playing, and critics could not stop yelling about. By this point, politicians, parent groups were already watching GTA like it was a vending machine labeled lawsuit snacks. Rockstar didn't accidentally become controversial, they built a brand around pushing buttons and then laughing at the alarm. And then San Andreas came along and gave critics the biggest target yet. GTA San Andreas was not some small little side release. This thing launched on PlayStation 2 in October 2004, and it was massive. You play as Carl C.J. Johnson, coming back to Grove Street after his mother's death, only to find his old neighborhood falling apart, his family fractured, and corrupt cops already breathing down his neck like they own the vending machine. And instead of one city, Rockstar gave players an entire fictional state. We have San Andreas, Los Santos, San Fierro, Las Venturas, plus countryside, desert highways, small towns, airports, casino, gang territory, and enough side activities to make your mission log look like somebody spilled alphabet soup on it. This game didn't just expand the map, it expanded what GTA could be. You could customize CJ's clothes, change his hairstyle, build muscle, gain weight, improve weapon skills, date characters, take over gang territory, drive everything from bicycles to fighter jets, and somehow still have time to eat fast food until the game judged your life's choices. San Andreas wasn't just bigger, Rockstar stuffed the crime saga, a road trip, an RPG, and a chaos simulator into one disc, and players ate it up. It sold around 4.5 million copies in its first week, and went on to sell over 27 million copies, making it one of the biggest PlayStation 2 games ever. So when the scandal hit, it didn't hit some forgotten bargain bin game, it hit one of the biggest games in the world, and buried inside that disc was something Rockstar probably wished stayed locked. So what was this hot coffee? In the normal version of San Andreas, CJ could date different girlfriends around the map. You'd build up the relationship, go out, do activities. The girlfriend might invite CJ inside for coffee. And in the regular game, that's basically where it stops. The camera stays outside, the screen fades, and the game moves on. Very Rockstar, very suggestive, still within the version players were actually meant to access. But hidden inside the game files, there was more. A disabled adult minigame tied to the coffee moment. It wasn't normally playable, it wasn't sitting in the mission list, you couldn't just stumble into it by driving around Los Santos and eating too many Clunkin' Bell meals. But the content was still there. Animations, codes, models, left inside the files. And that's where the mod came in. The hot coffee mod didn't create that content from scratch, it unlocked the content that already shipped with the game, but had been disabled. And that distinction is what made this whole thing explode. Because if modders had just created something new, that's one conversation. But if the content was already inside one of the biggest games in the world, on the disc, and the files, just hidden behind the locked door, that's a completely different mess. This wasn't modders adding something new, this was modders finding something Rockstar left behind. And once people realized that, the coffee hit the fan. The person who unlocked it was a modder named Patrick Wildenborg, better known as Patrick W. Shortly after the PC version of San Andreas launched in 2005, Patrick W released a hot coffee mod. And at first, this was just modding community chaos. The kind of thing that spreads through forums where everybody posts, "Hey, you're not gonna believe what I found in the files." The mod hit GTA modding sites, players downloaded it, shared it, talked about it, and within a few weeks, it had exploded. We're talking over 1 million downloads in just 4 weeks. And once gaming press caught wind of it, the story started moving way beyond modding forums. Because this wasn't just somebody made a weird PC mod, the bigger question became, wait, was this already inside the game? Then people realized similar content existed in the console versions too. Not something a normal player would just trip over, but still sitting there in the files. And that changed everything. Early reactions were split. Some players were laughing like, bro, Rockstar is wild. Others were looking at it like Rockstar is cooked. This started as a modding discovery, then escaped the forums and walked into a courtroom wearing a bathrobe. Then Rockstar responded and somehow made the whole situation worse. When Rockstar and Take-Two responded, at first they pointed at hackers and modders, basically saying that this was the result of outside people altering the game. And to be fair, the average player was not booting up San Andreas and accidentally stumbling into this like they missed a turn on Grove Street. You needed the mod, you needed to unlock, you had to go looking for it. But here's the problem, the mod didn't create the content, it unlocked the content that was already there. Because now the question became, why was this still inside the game? That's the detail that burned Rockstar. The content had been disabled, hidden away, not meant to be accessed, but it was still in the game files. And once the ESRB confirmed that, the story shifted completely. Rockstar later framed it as leftover content that was never supposed to be playable, but by then the damage was already spreading. Patches followed, cleanup versions followed, retailers started asking questions, and suddenly one hidden menu had turned into a full-blown industry fire alarm. And that's when the ratings board stepped in. So we gotta remember, GTA San Andreas originally launched with an M for mature rating. That means it was already meant for players 17 and up. This was not a cartoon mascot platformer where a raccoon learns teamwork. This was Grand Theft Auto. Remember, it has crime, violence, language, chaos, Rockstar nonsense everywhere. But hot coffee changed the conversation. Because once the ESRB investigated and confirmed that the hidden adult content was inside the shipped game files, they made a massive decision. And on July 20th, 2005, GTA San Andreas was re-rated from M for mature to AO, adults only. And in gaming retail, AO is basically a death sentence wearing a barcode. Major stores did not want to carry adults-only games, so immediately retailers started pulling San Andreas from shelves. Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Circuit City, GameStop, Blockbuster, Sears. Everybody started backing away from it like the box art had started steaming. Think about that, one of the biggest games in the world, one of the biggest PlayStation 2 games ever, suddenly became retail poison. One hidden minigame took GTA San Andreas from mature to adults only. Rockstar had to halt the manufacturing, clean up the game, remove the hidden content completely, and release a new M-rated version so stores could actually sell it again. But this still wasn't done, because then the politicians smelled coffee. On July 14, 2005, Hillary Clinton called for an FTC investigation into GTA San Andreas. And once politicians got involved, this stopped being some modder found weird leftover content. Now it became, are video games hiding adult content from parents? And this is where the whole thing gets ridiculous. Because remember, San Andreas was already rated M, mature, 17 and up. This was not a game for little Timmy to play after finishing his math homework. This was Grand Theft Auto. You're stealing cars, running from cops, getting to gang wars, and committing enough crimes to make the breakroom HR handbook spontaneously combust. So when people started acting shocked that GTA had adult material buried in the files, it felt like somebody suddenly forgot what game we're talking about. Like, wait, the crime game has adult content? Yeah, such a wild discovery, detective. But that's where the ESRB part mattered. The issue wasn't just that mature content existed, the issue was that the hidden adult game was still inside the ship game's files, and it wasn't disclosed during the rating process. So even if the average player needed a mod, or a hack, or some serious file-digging goblin behavior to access it, the ratings board still looked at it like, hold up, you left this in the box? Then the Family Entertainment Protection Act entered the conversation. Congress started looking into it, and suddenly hot copy was no longer just Rockstar problem, it was a headline problem, a ratings problem, a somebody got this on the evening news problem, and of course Jack Thompson jumped on it, because if there was a GTA controversy within a 10-mile radius, that man appeared like a lawsuit wizard wearing a Bluetooth headset. He had already been going after violent games for years, and hot copy gave him exactly the kind of ammunition he wanted. News headlines framed the story like adult content was just sitting there waiting for kids to accidentally find it. But they left out a pretty important detail, that this was not something a random player unlocked by missing a turn on Grove Street. You had to go looking for it. But nonsense does not survive long once the news blender turns on. And honestly, that's why the ESRB looked like a joke to a lot of players. Because on one hand, yeah, Rockstar should not have left the content in the files, but on the other hand, this was already a mature rated GTA game, not a Saturday morning cartoon with bonus crimes. This wasn't just gaming drama anymore, this was the exact scandal GTA critics had been waiting for. And once lawyers got involved, hot coffee started costing real money. The hot coffee lawsuits were starting to get expensive. Consumer class action lawsuits followed, with players arguing they bought a game rated M for mature, only for it to later be rated adults only because of content hidden in the files. Take-Two eventually settled for around $1.3 million, but here's the funny part. Not that many people actually filed claims, because apparently even in a giant gaming scandal, most people still looked at the paperwork and went, nah, I'm good. Then came the FTC in 2006, Take-Two settled with the Federal Trade Commission and paid them $873,000 and agreed to better disclosure rules going forward, which is a very fancy way of saying next time tell the ratings board what's hiding in the closet. It was the recall, the cleanup copies, the lost sales, the legal mess, the stock hit, the PR nightmare wrapped around all of it. Estimates put the total damage somewhere around $24.5 million to $50 million, all because of content most players never would have seen without a mod. Hot Coffee didn't just embarrass Rockstar, it turned hidden game files into financial damage, and this is where the industry started learning a very expensive lesson. Because after the Hot Coffee drama, the whole industry had to pay attention. Ratings boards started looking harder at hidden content, publishers became more careful about what they left inside the game files, and developers learned a very expensive lesson. If something is cut from the game, you probably shouldn't leave it sitting in the code like a curse sticky note behind the microwave. Before Hot Coffee, unused content could feel like leftovers. Old files, scrapped ideas, prototype stuff, things players were never supposed to see in the files. But after this, unused content was just leftover code, and it became a legal risk. And the modern view is very complicated. Because yeah, a lot of the panic was overblown, but Rockstar was still careless. The content was disabled, but it was still on the disk, still in the files, still waiting for someone to find it. As for today, this would still go viral, absolutely. The internet would still have clips, threads, reaction videos, legal breakdowns, and 27 thumbnails with red arrows before lunch. But the cultural reaction might be different. Players understand mods better now, digital patches move faster, and the conversation around adult content in games is not the same as it was in 2005. Still, the lesson hasn't changed. After Hot Coffee, hidden files were no longer harmless leftovers. They were evidence, and that's why this scandal still matters. Because this wasn't just about adult content, it was about what publishers leave behind. It was about ratings, responsibilities, modding, and whether players, parents, retailers, and rating boards can actually trust what's inside the games they're buying. Rockstar was already under pressure, GTA was already the game politicians loved yelling about, parent groups were already watching, Jack Thompson was already circling the parking lot like he smelled lawsuit fumes, so when Hot Coffee happened, it gave critics the exact headline they have been waiting for. And yeah, most players were never going to access this normally, but Rockstar had shipped the content in the files and tried to blame outside modders first. That's the part that turned a weird hidden menu into a full industry mess. Rockstar didn't pour the coffee in front of everybody, but they left the pot plugged in under the counter, and somebody eventually found it. Well, that's all I got. I gotta bounce before Olivia from accounting finds out I pressed the hidden menu on the coffee machine and reports me to HR for unauthorized beverage behavior. But before I go, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe for more Janitor files, and don't forget to answer this down in the comments below. What do you think? Was hot coffee a real scandal, or did the media and politicians blow it out of proportion? This is Gruffy the Janitor signing off. Peace out.